Well, hello everyone, Lock Garden Bird Lady here, coming to you guys with a quick video. In this video here, I just want to talk about how you can create the perfect pollinator paradise. Try to say that fast 3 times. So, let's jump right into it. Thank you so much for stopping my channel. If this is not your first time, welcome back. If this is your first time, welcome. I hope that you do decide to join the family and stay by hitting that like button, that subscribe button, and ringing that bell. Now, this is a very diverse channel. I do a lot of gardening videos, but my name is the Lock Garden Bird Lady, so there are at least 3 things that you know I'm going to talk about on this channel. If you are here for the gardening and pollinator videos, I definitely have some treats for you guys coming up because gardening season is in full swing. My schedule is changing in June at work, so I will have more time to spend outside in the garden, so thank you Jesus for that. So just make sure you turn on notification bell so you don't miss any gardening videos. Now, I do want to apologize again if this is your first time here about the sound quality of the video. I'll tell the story again. For those of you who are new here, I actually have a problem with the mic import on my camera. If for some reason it will not take my wireless mic, it will not take my wired lapel mic, and it won't even, the only microphone that it will take is my Rode mic. And if you know the Rode mic, it is a very powerful microphone. It picks up everything instead of it just picks up so much, and so it ends up picking up the birds in the background, which I don't mind the birds in the background, but it ends up picking up, you know, cars and, you know, all different types of things. And then sometimes it can come off a little grainy, so I did change the lens on my camera. My last gardening video that I did outside, I had a different lens on, and I actually like this lens a lot better. For some reason I can adjust the color the way that I like it to, because my last two gardening videos is really overexposed. So, but anyway, I digress. I apologize for the sound quality. So I do want to go ahead and put this disclaimer right here, because I know there's always one person that tries to call me out in the comment section. Now, I do have videos, gardening videos, on how to get rid of caterpillars in your garden. Now, what I say in those videos is this is a last resort. Now, we need pollinators to pollinate our garden, but when it becomes too much, I try to move them from the vegetable garden to the pollinator garden. But when they start destroying just too much of my food, I have to intervene and lessen them down. So I do want to be 100% transparent with that. Is I am a vegetable gardener, as well as, like, when I see the larvae of the pollinators beginning to just completely decimate all of my crops, I do have to step in, and I do have to control it if it's not being controlled naturally. So I do want to put that disclaimer right here. But with that being said, I am still a huge advocate of the pollinators. I have several videos. I probably will make this a playlist about pollinators. So I have several pollinator type videos. This one right here, it's just basically just to talk about what you need to have in your garden or in your space, and how to arrange it to create a pollinator paradise is what I just decided to call it, because I just like the peas. It's nothing special. I just like the peas. But thought it was kind of clever. Now, when people hear the word pollinators, they automatically think bees and butterflies. But pollinators are bees, they're butterflies, they're moths, they're bats, they're hummingbirds. All of these are types of pollinators that actually help out in our garden. So you want to make sure that you plant flowers or have a landscape that is going to attract all of these, because they all serve their purpose. Now, when it comes to the moth, I have a love-hate relationship with the moth. Now, the moth, they oftentimes lay their eggs on my vegetables, and sometimes their little babies begin to just completely decimate my vegetable plants. I try to overplant my vegetables so that the larvae will have more things that they can eat on, but sometimes it just becomes overwhelming when they begin to just completely destroy my vegetable gardens, and I have to step in and intervene organically, as much as I hate to. But pollinators are supposed to used to pollinate our food source, but if their larvae is eating our food source, then it really doesn't make sense. You know, I just like being transparent. I do sometimes use BT to actually control some of the caterpillars that begin to destroy my vegetable gardens, and it's only when it gets to the point to where they start to decimate the food source and I can no longer move them from one crop to the next. So just want to put that disclaimer out there. All right, so with that being said, so what you want to do is you want to make sure that you have, the first thing you want to make sure is that you have a space. Now, there are pollinator type plants that produce nectar as well as pollen. There are plants that produce nectar and pollen that can grow in the shade, but pollinators, they really like sun. So you want to make sure that you have your pollinator garden in a very sunny area, at least an area that's getting at least 6 or more hours of sunlight. Most of the flowers that pollinators enjoy, they do need 6 to 8 or more hours of sunlight a day. So you want to make sure that you find a space that is really sunny. And when you're picking out, the next thing you want to do is when you're looking at flowers. Now, one thing that we want to make our pollinator garden look as natural as possible. And so when you're looking at like the wildflower meadows, you don't just see a flower here, and a flower here, and a flower there. You see large clusters of flowers, different shapes, different colors, and they're all closely impact together. So that's what you need in your pollinator garden as well. So as you can see, these flowers are pretty thick behind me, and so that's what you need, and they're going to get even thicker because I have more flowers coming up, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So you really need to have it to where your pollinator garden is really thick. You want it, the thicker the better. I know it seems sometimes it may even look like that you're over. Now it's not the same with vegetable gardening. With vegetable gardening, you kind of want to space things out so they won't compete for nutrients. But with the pollinator garden, the thicker the better. You don't want to have those, even though you have the right type of flowers, the right thickness, you don't want to have where everything just blooms at the same time. You want flowers that's going to bloom from spring to fall. Now what I do is I kind of really lucked up this year. I didn't have to plant anything and start my seeds inside, and that's a lot of times what I would do is I would start my seeds inside, so when the spring comes and everything warms up, I just pop them in the ground. They're already ready to bloom. I had this boat garden here last year, so the flowers will self-seed. So my blanket flowers and my cosmos and these other little flowers that I forgot what they're called, it starts with a C, they actually reseeded, and so when spring came in, they came up so fast and they began to bloom. And so I already have several types of pollinator in my garden. I already had several types of pollinators in my garden early spring. And just to put this little tip in here, if you are a vegetable gardener, you do want your flowers to come up before your vegetables do. You want to already have your flowers blooming and pollinators already in your yard before your vegetables do. And if you time it the right way, it's usually going to be that way. It's usually going to be that way anyway, simply because you want to already have those bees, those butterflies, those moths. You want to already have those attracted to your yard, so when those fruit and those vegetables come out that you want them to pollinate, they're already there for you. You don't have to worry about trying to draw them in. They're already there. You want to make sure that you choose flowers or herbs, and I keep saying I'm probably going to say flowers the most, but herbs can actually help pollinators as well. Like hummingbirds really like the pineapple sage. I found that they really like the pineapple sage. They like the salvia, things of that sort. So you can actually have herbs like borage and bee balm. They are absolutely amazing. Pollinators are so attractive, especially borage. I have bees all over my borage. So make sure that you are incorporating some herbs. So when I just say flowers, don't think I just mean flowers only, but herbs can also produce, well, I guess that is still flowers. Herbs can also produce flowers that can draw in pollinators as well. So when you're picking these, make sure you pick the ones that do have a lot of pollen and nectar, because there are some flowers that, especially the ones that are hybrids, they are made for people. Some flowers, they are really pretty and they look like, they may draw a pollinator in, but they don't have what the pollinators are looking for. They have been genetically altered not to have pollen, not to have nectar on them, so the color themselves may attract the pollinators, but once they found out it doesn't have that food source that they're looking for, then they will not actually stay in your yard. They're going to move on somewhere else. So make sure you get things that are native, that are native to your area and that have nectar and pollen. Like I have some sunflowers and they have been altered to where they don't have pollen, so that people who have really bad allergies, they can still grow and they can still enjoy sunflowers. So it's basically for the aesthetics of it, but it's not going to help pollinators. So just make sure that it does have that food source of pollen and nectar that the pollinators are after. Now, to draw those nocturnal pollinators like bats and moths in, and again, me and moths, we have a love-hate relationship. You want to make sure that you do have nocturnal blooming flowers like evening primrose or the night blooming jasmine. Things of that sort, they will draw in those nighttime pollinators. Since I do have a vegetable garden now, I don't like to attract a lot of the nocturnal blooming moths to my yard. So I feel like if I don't attract a lot of them, then I won't have that task of having to sometimes get rid of a lot of them. So a lot of the moths and everything that I have in my yard, they're daytime moths, and they're not the nocturnal moths. Now, one thing you also want to do is you want to make sure that you avoid like the double petaled flowers. It's better to have the single petaled flowers. I just keep saying petals now. Yeah, I promise y'all know I can't talk. This will not be a Lock Garden Bird Lady video if I don't mispronounce at least 5 things in the video. And it's simple things. It's just my tongue. These blanket flowers behind me, they are a perfect example of a single petal. Now, these blanket flowers behind me, they are a perfect example of a single petal flower. What the single petals do is they actually act as a landing pad for butterflies and pollinators. While they're focusing on that creamy, that yummy center of the flower, the petals, they can rest their legs on the petals there. So make sure you get single petal flower. It's just easy. They're gonna prefer those more. You will see them go to some flowers like marigolds that have the multi petal. I don't know if that's the word for it, but have more than one petal. But they mainly focus on the single petal flower. You also want to make sure that you include host plants for your butterflies. Now, what the host plants are, they are actually what the larvae would eat. So if you have a bunch of flowers for the adult butterflies to eat when it's mating season, they will not mate and they will not produce in your yard because you don't have those host flies, because they know, hey, my kids can't eat none of this stuff, so I'm gonna go somewhere else. And so that's why we have the milk. Like, I have a lot of milkweed in my. There is a dill plant right here that actually popped up from last year. Not really sure how a dill seed got here, but I'm just gonna leave it. If you know me, my favorite two butterflies are the swallowtail, which lays its eggs on the dill. I have a video on my channel here where I did get some swallowtail cats last year, and the monarch butterfly, which is considered as endangered. So I definitely have tons and tons of milkweed in my garden. I do have some videos on milkweed, and I will link it down below, or I will put it in the cards up there where you can go check those videos out as well. But it's different things. It's not only the monarch butterflies and the swallowtails that I try to attract to my garden. I also, when I plant beans, I always try to overplant my beans because I know the beautiful long-tailed skipper is going to actually come through and lay its eggs on my beans. And I kind of just let the leaf bean roller just do its thing because they don't cause a lot of damage. Now, last year I did have to intervene because they actually pretty much decimated a whole row of my my Kentucky Wonder beans. Not sure why. I've never had that problem with them before, where I had so many that they cleared out an entire row, but they almost cleared out an entire row of my Kentucky Wonder beans. So I had to actually intervene last year with the leaf bean roller, and I didn't intervene on all. Now, I do have a video on how to create a butterfly puddler. This is what a lot of pollinator gardens are missing. You actually have to have like you actually need to have like a salt lick place for your butterflies and your bees. Now, I don't want to go into it too much because I did go into it a lot in the butterfly puddler video. There are several ways of how to create it. Now, you can have either a irrigation area for the irrigation drip, and that can be used, or there can be a bird bath, or like a puddler, or you can just take a tin can. It's just different type of ways that you can create this. And you need to mix it. You can mix it with either table salt, sea salt, Epsom salt, or just cow manure, and it creates that salt that the bees and the butterflies are looking for. Now, it's also a watering sauce for them. What the butterflies and the moths are looking for, they are looking for the nutrients that are found in the soil, that magnesium that's found in that salt. It helps them with mating season. Like I said, I'm not going to go too much into it in this video, but I will put a link to where I did go into it in I do have a complete video on the purpose of a butterfly puddler and how it helps the butterflies and the bees. I will put a link to that video in the description box below, but I just don't want this video to be too long. Now also, if you have some trees or some down wood in your in your yard, you can actually leave that. Of course, leave it out of space where no one trips on it, no one gets hurt. You can actually leave that for the native bees in your area, because it creates a nesting site for them. If you don't have anything like that, there are, and I put links down in the description box below, where you can purchase bee houses that actually will where you can actually purchase bee houses, like mason bee houses, different type of houses for bees. That I'm really struggling on this part of the video, I don't know why. I'm not even going to delete it out. I'm just going to leave it in here. But you can actually purchase bee houses where they can actually nest inside of them. If you don't want to purchase a bee house, you can actually take limbs and trees and you can drill holes in them, and that can assist with nesting of the bees as well. Now you can also include a hummingbird feeder in your yard, and that's going to draw in some bees, and of course it's going to draw in hummingbirds. Now last year I did not have a hummingbird feeder in my yard, but I still had plenty of hummingbirds because we have these trees. I don't know what they call. I think they call these trees called something mimosa, some kind of mimosa trees. I think that's what they're called. I'll put it around here somewhere. But the hummingbirds were all over those trees, and we have just right here, I have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11. So I have 11 of these trees surrounding my yard, and they have these really big pink blooms. Yeah, I keep looking at this wasp that keeps flying past me, checking me out. Each time he goes past, I think it's the same one because it's a bright red wasp. Each time he goes past, he gets closer and closer, and he's just checking me out. But yeah, so I had those really big and they have these really big pink. So those trees have those really big pink fuzzy blooms on them, and when I say that the hummingbirds are all over those trees, they are all over those trees. I also have flowers in my and hummingbirds really love the pineapple sage when it's in bloom, and I had a lot of pollinators on the pineapple, a lot of hummingbirds on the pineapple sage. So last year I didn't incorporate a hummingbird feeder, but this year I will be incorporating a hummingbird feeder, and you can actually buy the little nectar, hummingbird nectar stuff from the store. It's red. I usually, when I've had one in the past, I usually always just made my own, because you know I'm all about the organic stuff. So you want to make sure that you eliminate. So you want to make sure you want to make sure that you eliminate the use of pesticides as much as often. And I know it sounds like it should be a given, but a lot of people think about the adult pollinators and not the actual larvae. I have a really bad problem with aphids on my milkweed. I have a really bad problem with them, but I have to use different methods like just dish soap, or you are removing them by hand, or just getting a paper towel, or using the water method, because neem oil does work against aphids. But if I use neem oil on those plants, they will also kill caterpillars. So neem oil will kill caterpillars as well. So you want to make sure that you definitely read the labels on what you're using to try to get rid of some of the pests that are in your pollinator garden, and make sure that they do not also kill what you're trying to attract to your garden as well. Another thing is, when this is why I like to grow my own plants from seed, because I know that there are no pesticides in them. Now some big box stores actually use pesticides on their plants to keep them looking very beautiful, and keep them, because you don't want to buy a plant that's unsightly. You want to buy a plant that's pretty. So they actually use pesticides on some plants. So what you can do is you can actually ask, hey, have pesticides been used on these? Now Home Depot is a place that they have said that they no longer buy from sources that use pesticides on the flowers and the plants, because they can be sprayed with something and can be toxic for bees. The key to spraying pesticides, even if you're using organic pesticides still can be hazardous to bees. They still can be toxic. They still can be dangerous for our pollinators. So you want to make sure that you read the things that you spray on your any kind of organic sprays that you use. Make sure you spray it at night, because it still can be toxic for bees. When it's wet, it can be toxic for bees. So make sure you spray it late in the evening, just before dusk. just before dusk when the bees are not active. And also look for sprays like this. I love this one. This is like my go-to sprays. It kills, man, everything that I don't want, like aphids, whiteflies, spider mites, fungus gnats, thrips, mealybugs, all these things. And it also controls like powdery mildew, black spot, and you can use it on vegetables, flowers, ornamental trees, and as well as shrubs. And it is you know how I feel about OMRI listed. It is 100% organic and OMRI listed, made in the US. So this is one that I absolutely love. It is good for bees. Even though it is organic, even though it is safe for bees, I still end up spraying it in the evening time when the bees are not active, just to be on the safe side. And I also will put a link down in the description box where you can use this. So if you do want to get rid of those aphids and things on your flowers and plants, you can actually use this in the evening time, and it is safe for bees. I apologize for the lawnmower in the background. It seems like every time I'm outside doing a video, my neighbors decide to cut the grass, and I believe they just hear me talking and they just want to come out here and cut the grass. I don't know, but if you're my neighbor and you're watching this, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the other neighbor. I'm talking about your neighbor. I'm talking about the one on the other side. Get myself in trouble. So if you're really into butterflies, you want to make sure that you give butterflies more than just nectar. They need more than nectar. You may see them on dog poo. You may see them where a dog has recently urinated. It's because, believe it or not, that salt and everything in there, it provides tons of micronutrients for butterflies. So what you can do is those unsightly, like if you have fruit that are rotting, like bananas and peaches, apples, I showed you that in the Puddler video. So if you have fruit that are actually rotting, instead of taking them and putting them, in the garbage, take them and put them outside in your pollinator garden. That will actually provide more micronutrients for butterflies as well. Those gases and those fumes that the rotting fruit releases, it actually draws in butterflies, believe it or not. All right, so those are the top tips that I have for creating a perfect pollinator garden. I will put more links in the description box below. I did not want this video to be too long, but thank you so much, guys. Let me know what you think. If you want me to do more videos on pollinators, just let me know down in the description box below. If you stuck with me to the end of this video, just give me a, if you stuck with me to the end of this video, give me a flower emoji down in the comment section below. And yeah, make sure you share this video with a friend, because we do actually need to create more resources for more areas for pollinators, because so much of their natural habitats are being destroyed. We do have to, we have to sometimes create places in our landscape to make up for what's being destroyed, because humans are the reason that their natural habitats are being destroyed. Like, we're putting homes in we're tearing down their habitats. We're tearing down their habitats and we're putting homes in their habitats. The least we can do is take a space in our home and create a pollinator garden so that they can have somewhere to go, since we took theirs. But thank you so much, guys, for watching, and as usual, toodaloo, bye bye.